welcome back, everybody. Today we're diving straight into an explainer on what can really only be described as a complete seismic shift in the global sports economy. We're talking about the 2026 and 2027 football transfer mega window. It's just wild. We are seeing massive financial shifts, completely unprecedented amounts of money moving across European football, and club strategies that are literally redefining how squads are built. If you want to understand the modern financial realities of the beautiful game, and honestly how these crazy deals might actually impact your ticket prices or streaming subscriptions down the line, you are in exactly the right place.
I mean, just think about this. Over £500 million spent on just 6 players. Let that sink in for a second, right? It's a staggering financial reality. And it raises a massive question. In a window defined by absolute fortunes, who actually made the biggest, most impactful move? Well, to figure that out, we really need to look beyond just the shiny price tags and break down the core strategies driving these record-breaking deals.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is exactly how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll look at the Premier League arms race. Second, how Serie A strikes back. Third, Barcelona's blockbuster signing. Fourth, Liverpool's investment in youth. And finally, we'll wrap up with the final verdict. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the Premier League arms race.
So the absolute pinnacle of this domestic arms race, it involves Morgan Rogers. The guy is coming off a completely breakout 2025 season at Aston Villa, a campaign so incredibly impressive, it earned him the prestigious PFA Young Player of the Year award. And, a phenomenal rise like that, it prompted Chelsea to come knocking right at Villa Park to bring him over to Stamford Bridge.
And honestly, the cost to make that happen is just wild. £117 million. That's not just a big number. That figure literally makes Morgan Rogers the most expensive English footballer ever, and one of the most expensive British players in the history of the sport. Chelsea absolutely did not hesitate to shatter records to get their man. But of course, in any arms race, every action has a reaction. And Manchester City? They immediately responded with a massive statement swoop of their own, looking over to Nottingham Forest to secure their incredibly dynamic midfield engine, Elliot Anderson.
City's response cost a staggering £116 million. Dropping a figure like that instantly cements Anderson as one of the most expensive midfielders in the history of football. It just proves that the reigning champions are more than willing to match Chelsea's financial flex, pound for pound, to maintain their dominance.
When you actually compare these two incredible financial packages side by side, the scale is just staggering. Rogers is locked in until 2032, and Anderson is signed on for 6 years. Now, the exact official wages for both these guys remain an incredibly guarded secret by their clubs, but reliable reports put Rogers well over £200,000 a week and Anderson exceeding £250,000 a week. That level of commitment, paying young players over £1 million a single month, is truly mind-boggling.
Moving right along to Section 2, Serie A strikes back.
Which brings us to one of the biggest shockers of the entire window. Italian international Sandro Tonali actually made a massive return to his home country. After his stint in the Premier League with Newcastle United, Juventus really stepped up to bring the highly regarded midfielder back to Turin. To pry him away from Newcastle, Juventus spent a reported £90 million. I mean, let that 90 million figure sink in for a bit. This is Juventus flexing some serious top-tier financial muscle, proving they can still compete with the Premier League's insanely deep pockets to secure a vital midfield general. They managed to secure Tonali on a really robust 5-year agreement, and while that transfer fee was huge, his personal terms are just as impressive. He's pulling in an estimated €10 million in annual pre-bonus wages. This is a serious financial commitment from Juve to reclaim their European pedigree. But hey, Juventus wasn't the only Italian club making waves. Moving across Italy, AC Milan reached right into the French capital to pull Portuguese striker Gonzalo Ramos away from Paris Saint-Germain, locking down one of Europe's most sought-after attackers. The sheer cost for the Italian giants to land Ramos? A club record €74 million. It really does take elite spending to acquire an elite forward, and Milan was more than willing to pay that premium to lead their line for the future. And looking at the logistics here, Ramos doesn't just arrive with potential. He departs PSG after securing back-to-back Champions League titles, which actually includes a treble in 2025. He's signing a 5-year, long-term contract with Milan, though just like our Premier League examples earlier, the absolute secrecy surrounding his official Milan salary is completely airtight. No one's talking.
All right, up next is Section 3, Barcelona's blockbuster signing.
Over in Spain, Barcelona decided to aggressively strengthen their front line. That resulted in a really high-profile departure from Newcastle United. English winger Anthony Gordon packed his bags, leaving the Premier League behind to head over to Catalonia to join the Blaugrana. The final price tag to finalize the deal for the dynamic English winger, a cool €80 million, which is roughly £69.3 million. It just proves that Barcelona can always find a way to fund a massive move when they really want to, no matter how many financial levers they have to pull, right? It's a massive outlay proving their commitment to injecting top-level pace and creativity into the squad. The really crucial point here is how this contract is structured to benefit Barca long-term. Gordon signed a 5-year agreement starting July 1, 2026, which actually keeps him tied to the club through 2032. With an estimated salary of €8 million per season before bonuses, this kind of long-term commitment directly addresses Barcelona's attacking strategy for the better part of the next decade.
Now let's pivot to Section 4, Liverpool's investment in youth. Because, not every massive fee this window was dropped on an established veteran. Liverpool actually decided to future-proof their squad by looking to France, specifically targeting young center-back Jeremy Jacquet from Stade Rennais. To secure Jacquet, Liverpool paid €63.6 million, which translates to about £55 million plus add-ons. That incredible fee easily makes him one of the summer's most expensive defenders. And to show just how much faith they have in him, Jacquet even inherits the iconic number 5 shirt left vacant by the departure of Ibrahima Konate.
And that perfectly sets up Section 5, the final verdict.
When you actually stack these moves up against each other, the sheer financial ceiling of the Premier League's domestic outlays is just undeniable. Rodgers at £117 million and Anderson at £116 million absolutely dwarf even Serie A's record-breaking buys like Tonali's massive £90 million move. The financial gravity of English football remains completely unparalleled, basically forcing all the other European giants to get incredibly creative just to keep up.
Which really leaves us with one final, vital question. Are these record-breaking, astronomical fees actually sustainable for the future of football? As the gaps between the leagues widen, the price of talent completely skyrockets, and new financial fair play regulations loom, well, it's a question every fan, owner, and focused learner really needs to consider. Thank you so much for joining me to unpack this incredible explainer. Keep analyzing the numbers, and I'll see you in the next one.